Over the years, we've come up with many very interesting names for animals. Some are very metal sounding like the Hellbender or strange-tailed tyrant, and some are more strange sounding like the pink fairy armadillo, the tasseled wobbegong, and the blue-footed booby. In some cases, animals are named after the people who discovered them, or certain experts in the field. That's why so many animals are named after George Wilhelm Steller, such as Steller's sea cow, Steller's sea eagle, and Steller's sea lion. But as I've covered many times before, these names can be inaccurate, or in some cases just misleading. Some animals are left with very boring names, and this is especially the case with animals that are named after what they eat. In this video I'll be going through just a few of these creatures, and I will also be trying to determine if they deserve these names, as I'll be going through 6 animals that are named after what they eat. And for our first species we can head to Central and South America, as we have the bat falcon. Now if you didn't know what this video was about, you may assume that this falcon is called the bat falcon because it resembles a bat. They are quite small for a bird of prey, and they do have quite a dark colour to their feathers. When you are looking for these creatures in the wild, it can be quite easy to misidentify them, as they are often confused with the closely related orange-breasted falcon. Now because the bat falcon is called the bat falcon, you may assume that they feed on a lot of bats, and they deserve this name. In fact, there is some truth to their name, but some bat falcons don't feed on bats at all. Most birds display some form of sexual dimorphism, and the bat falcon is no different. But strangely, it is the females that are larger, with a length of around 30 centimeters, compared to the male's length of around 23 centimeters. The female's larger size means that they can feed on larger prey, and this of course includes bats. They tend to sit on high perches with a good view, before picking off individual bats. Because the males are smaller, they tend to feed on smaller prey, such as insects, lizards, and frogs. Rather strangely, in Costa Rica they have been observed eating small green fruits, which is very rare behaviour for a falcon. For some people this is more interesting than the fact that they eat bats, so really this bird could be called the green fruit falcon. But our next group of animals aren't found in any specific area, and they are the dung beetles. Now the dung beetle isn't one species, but is in fact a superfamily of beetles. These can be found in many continents around the world, but they all share something in common. Famously, these beetles have an acquired taste, and will happily get rid of other animals' waste. Although all these beetles share a love for poop, not all of them feed on it in the same way. In fact, they are grouped on how they eat it, as some famously roll it along the ground, others tunnel through the manure, and others bury it underground. If we look past the fact that these beetles feed on poop, they are still very interesting creatures. If they were scaled up to our size, they'd be the strongest creatures in the world, as they can lift more than 1,100 times their body weight. Strangely, these beetles also provide care for their young, which is a real rarity in the insect world. The male will often provide food for the young, and the female will tend to their living space. As well as helping out their young, they also help out the planet, as not only are they important seed dispersers, but they also help to reduce greenhouse gases. When these beetles bury cow dung, it increases soil fertility and reduces the amount of methane released. As they eat the dung, they also reduce pesky fly numbers, but unfortunately most cow dung is unusable for these beetles, simply because of all the medications that the cows take. So the dung beetle really does deserve its name, and it would be a very interesting creature even if it didn't eat dung. Now I will put out a warning before we go for our next creature, and if you are afraid of spiders, I'd skip to this point in the video, because for our next species we will be heading to South America, as we have the Goliath Birdeater. Now this spider is one of the most famous species in the world, and is also the largest species of spider in the world by mass. They can have a leg span of up to 30 centimeters, and can weigh up to 175 grams. This size makes them a very formidable predator, and they have very nasty fangs to match. Although the size of this spider may leave many of you running for your lives, they are still preyed upon by other animals. When this spider is met with danger, instead of going straight for biting, they have another rather strange defensive mechanism. They rub certain hair-like structures on their body, and these structures then become airborne. These hairs are a severe irritant to skin and eyes, and often leads to the predator leaving them alone. But if you were to keep annoying this spider, they are venomous, but luckily their venom is relatively harmless, and is similar to that of a bee sting. If these spiders' names are to be believed, then they would mainly feed on birds. Strangely, this is not the case, as they mostly feed on arthropods, worms, and amphibians. In some rarer cases they will feed on snakes, but they very rarely feed on birds. Birds are simply too fast for them usually, and there is much easier prey to go after. It's thought that the name bird eating derives from an early 18th century copper engraving. This was created by a famous German naturalist, and depicted this spider eating a hummingbird. It's totally possible that this could have happened, but but really I don't think this spider deserves the bird-eating name. But for our next species we can head to sub-Saharan Africa, as we have the African fish eagle. Now this eagle is one of Africa's most iconic birds, and is loved by many people in Africa. It's the national bird of 4 countries, and it is one of the largest birds of prey in Africa. They can have a wingspan of up to 2.5 meters, and can weigh almost 4 kilograms. Their size and power means that they don't have to be too selective when it comes to prey, and they will even happily steal prey from other animals. They'll steal catches from Goliath herons and saddle-billed storks, and in most cases no other birds will challenge them. These birds have a very distinctive yodeling call, and over large parts of the continent it is known as the sound of Africa. Rather unsurprisingly, this bird's name doesn't lie. They usually find a perch near water, and then they will swoop down and snag fish. It's true that fish do make up the majority of their diet, but they also feed on more dangerous prey. They'll target crocodiles, dik-diks and monkeys, and they'll even snatch the infamous tiger fish from the water. This truly makes them one of the most impressive birds of prey out there, and they thoroughly deserve their name. But for our next group of animals we can head to both Africa and India, as we have the egg-eating snakes. Now the term egg-eating snake can refer to 6 different species, and some of these species are available in the pet trade. At first glance these snakes may look like many other species of snake, but there are some subtle differences. As their name suggests, they do have a taste for eggs, and their bodies are perfectly adapted for this diet. Famously, many snakes are able to swallow food much wider than their head, and this is a very impressive yet gross skill. The egg-eating snakes are able to swallow eggs whole, and to help them swallow these eggs they don't have any real teeth, but instead have bony plates in their mouth which help force the egg down. Once they have fully swallowed this egg, it is punctured by special vertebrae, and the contents of the egg are swallowed. The shell and unwanted parts are then regurgitated, and after this it will search for more eggs. This is a very strange and gross way to eat, but this snake has really mastered the egg-eating niche. For our final species we can head to the coasts of Antarctica, as we have the Crabeater seal. Now in Antarctica there are a few seals with some strange names, such as the elephant seals and the leopard seals. These of course are named after other creatures, either because of their physical features or because of their patterning. It's strange to think that many people are unaware of this seal, because not only is it the most abundant seal in Antarctica, but it is also one of the most abundant mammals. Wild population estimates are very uncertain, but there are at least 7 million, and there could be up to 15 million individuals. Unfortunately, their pups are the most important component of leopard seal diets, and the leopard seal is responsible for around 80% of Crabeater seal pup deaths. Of course they have a few other predators, and if you've been watching Frozen Planet 2, you'll know that the orca is one of these predators. But rather strangely, orcas tend to choose other seals over this seal, because Crabeater seals are very tenacious and feisty, and puts up more of a fight than other species. This means for many orcas they are not worth the fight, and is the reason why they choose to target other species. Now personally I think I've left the best till last on this list, because even though these seals are called crab eaters, they don't actually feed on crabs. There are very few crab species in Antarctica, and these are mostly found in very deep water. The only species that could really target these crabs are elephant seals, and instead this seal mostly feeds on krill and small fish. Rather strangely, it has something in common with the leopard seal, as they both have specialized teeth that help them sieve krill from the water. Krill are full of nutrients, and it makes sense why these seals would go after them. So really this seal's name is the most misleading, but it is a very interesting creature nonetheless. Of course there are many other creatures that could have made it on this list, and if you know of any, let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you were named after what you eat, let me know what you'd be called. But that's about it for this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.